that, we really need to have a think about what the issue is. And when we're thinking about the issue, we very much hope that a prenup for you is going to be a waste of time because your marriage is going to survive and you're not going to ever need to use it. But if the worst happens and you eventually divorce, what is it that you're actually trying to protect through the prenuptial agreement? In a future divorce, the shareholding might be looked at to meet your husband or wife's future needs. If the business has grown in value during the course of the marriage because of your hard work, that increase in value might be seen as a marital resource to be divided between you, even if you're able to protect the money that you brought in or the value of the shareholding that you brought in at the beginning of the marriage. And one of the things that the courts will be looking at in a future divorce is what was that business worth at the time you started living together? You then need to think about why you want a prenup at all, so far as your business is concerned. And most of the clients that I see are telling me they want to protect their shareholding from a future divorce. It might be that I'm talking to the mum and the dad that set the business up and their child is now looking to marry. It might be that somebody's worked incredibly hard before they met their partner and they've set up a business, been working very long hours. And as far as they're concerned, that business should stay with them in the event of a divorce. So a prenuptial agreement is really looking to try and protect that shareholding against a future divorce if they're able to. As I've already said, it might be that the prenup is looking to provide evidence of the value of the agreement of the business at the time. So, for example, the business might be an investment business that holds property, and you're not looking to add to that property, but you want to be able to show that any growth in the business is passive. It's because of increases in values, not because of something you've specifically done, and a prenuptial agreement can help with that. It can be used to show what the intention was. So did you always intend that it would stay as your business? What if your partner becomes involved in the business and works for the business? What happens then? And so you really need to have a think about why you want a prenuptial agreement. There's another side to it as well, particularly with family businesses or with a business that's been set up between friends that they've worked hard together. Sometimes people want to provide security to their co-shareholders. Please don't worry, yes, I am getting married, but we've protected the business. You don't need to be concerned. You might be the co-shareholder who wants to ensure that your business partners or co-shareholders' spouse isn't going to get involved in that business. Will some of the shares be passed to your partner within the marriage? How do you get them back again? Those are the sorts of things that people are really starting to think about when they're looking at entering into a prenuptial agreement. You then need to think about what a prenuptial agreement can do. So it can provide that evidence that we've already spoken about. If it's drafted correctly, it can provide some protection, but a prenuptial agreement in this country at the moment is not legally binding. The court can overturn it in a divorce. However, if it's properly entered into, it's been drafted correctly, it's got all of the evidence in it that it should have, and it's fair in the eyes of divorce courts, then it's more likely than not that it will be followed. I don't see very much benefit at all in getting a cheap prenup, because ultimately it's not going to provide those requirements or that evidence that you need. It can specify how the income generated by the business is going to be dealt with, and it can look at contributions by your partner. So are they going to work in the business? What if they've helped grow it? Does it then become an asset that should be divided between you in a divorce? And it can also provide clauses to protect sensitive information. Your partner, if they're not already living with you, probably will be once you marry. And what if they find out information that they could then sell on the market that could really damage your business? Can we offer some protection there? I don't think you should look at a prenuptial agreement on its own. It's really useful to look at shareholders' agreements to see if there's anything you want to put in place there to protect the shares, particularly if you're going to transfer some of your shares to your partner for tax reasons. You also need to think about your articles of association within your company. Do they specify, do you want them to specify that the shares cannot pass outside the existing shareholders? They cannot be retained by a spouse or an ex-spouse in respect of divorce. And that if they're looking to be sold, they should be offered first of all, to the current shareholders at the price they want to pay. If you have those sorts of protections in place within the company itself, please put them in place before you marry. That's far more persuasive if they're done in advance. And just bear in mind that a future divorce court might look at alternative ways of getting some value out. So they might say that your partner gets more of other assets because you're keeping those shares. To my mind, it's very important that business owners think about all of this in advance and well in advance of a marriage. There's no point doing it a week before. You really want to be thinking about it months in advance. And speaking to a professional who knows what they're doing is, in my mind, invaluable.